there's not a local business on the planet, and especially not in North America, who you couldn't drench with leads with some very simple ads overnight. That's not where the problem happens. The problem happens in the nurture phase. That's the next step, right? So leads come in, and we do this. I mean, we ingest millions and millions of leads every month, and it's the same scenario. It's the person says, "Hey, I'm interested. I might need this, or I might want this, or I absolutely need this, and I absolutely want this." And then that same problem happens over and over again. It's called crickets. Nothing happens, and right there, that lead goes to die. And that is where
it's like throwing money in the garbage.
It is.
Tell us about Y.E.L and kind of how it started from the inception and what you feel like makes it different. And then I want to talk about the power of consistently innovating and keeping up with the times. Because like you said, a lot of people are trying to put companies out of business. So let's go back. Tell us about it and kind of how it started and kind of the vision.
Yeah, so I had a prior software company that helped small businesses collect money that was past due to them. And it was really successful. I helped a lot of small business owners avoid bankruptcy, and even better, put about 30 days worth of cash flow back into their business. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that most businesses don't go bankrupt because they have a bad idea or a bad service or whatever. Lots of situations are where they do the thing that they're supposed to do. They invoice their customer, and then the time between the invoice and the cash coming in, they get hit with all the bills from the vendors and the suppliers, and they get this cash crunch, and then they go bankrupt. And so I helped a lot of small businesses automatically collect that money. And while doing that, I got to about 1,000 small businesses, and I would just talk to them like, "Hey, well, we solved this problem. What else do you need?" And they all said the same thing. They're like, "I want more customers. I want more customers." And so when we came out with the original platform, is all about selling direct to the SMB, because I said, well, let's go help them. Let's go put software in place. And I had this big customer list. We sold into it, and people were like, "Yeah, this is amazing." And then all of a sudden they started canceling left and right. And I was like, "Hey, wait, hold on, what happened? I showed you the demo, you said you loved it." And they said, "Oh yeah, we love the demo, but I got to tell you, we just don't really have time to implement this in our business." And it was a really low moment, because I was like, I don't get it. I put my heart out into this. I know it can help you. And I could show them examples, etc. But it just was like, no matter what I could show them, there's no time. They couldn't make the jump. And so lucky for me, literally in that moment of desperation, a marketing agency who was working with one of those customers came along and asked for a demo of the product. And when they saw it, they were like, "Oh, this is amazing. We totally know how to do this. We want to buy it for all our customers." And it really opened our eyes to this sort of, and it's to this whole world where if you're not in it or you don't know it, marketing agencies are like these people that sort of live below the surface of small business. Because when you show up at the dentist's office, or when that plumber comes out and does an amazing job for you, you may not know this, but there was a marketing agency in there that helped run the ads or create the content or get them listed on the whatever, right? That ultimately brought you to that person. And so for us, it was just about realizing, oh, wait a second, we just didn't realize these people are here and how important they are. Let's focus on them, because they're the ones that really make the difference at the end of the day.
And did you create a done for you when they were saying, "I want your service, I love it, but I don't have time"?
Yeah,
were you
so
like, you know what? We need to go
funny.
forward.
I think back on it now, and I think, that could have been a solution, but I'm so glad I didn't go that way, because while it would have probably solved for those, initial customers, I think that in the long term, it's by enabling other people's success, the multiplier effect is huge, right? So again, I think it's also just about being less selfish. Like, everywhere we turn these days, there's someone who is sort of raising their hand and saying, like, I need to be the person on stage. Like, I need to be the person who's recognized as the successful individual. But I think in our case, what we realized is like, well, wait a second, let's background ourselves. Let's not get on stage. And in fact, let's push our customers up on stage and make them the heroes. And we were able to multiply ourselves out in the world in a way that I just don't think we could have otherwise done. And it's not just customer count, it's also skills, right? There's no way you're good at everything. And so by being good at what we were good at, which is in our case, we think of as software and engineering, we were able to connect with people who are really good at the other stuff, which is marketing and sales and storytelling and service, things that are as important as engineering. And by coming together as a team, as a partnership, we can make magic happen in ways that we could have never done on our own.
That's huge. And how would you recommend continuing to adapt and innovate? Because like you said, it's adapt or die from here on out, I think, technology wise.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing to continue to stay cutting edge and innovate? Do you have an internal team? Is it a focus on the weekly calls? Like what's kind of the process?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a give and take. So on the technology side, we keep our ears to the ground. So, Google, like Google My Business messaging is going to be a huge thing for small businesses here. And so we're in the beta for that, and we're going to have that as part of our platform and turning it on here next month. And so on a technology side, we're learning about this stuff. I'm on the developer calls with the Google team and that kind of thing. And then we work with our customers and say, hey, listen, what are you hearing out in the market? If hey, there are these 10 technologies that we think are interesting, which of these are most interesting to you, right? And then from there, we're like, okay, let's prioritize it in that order. So when we bring these solutions to market, we already know our agency customers know exactly what to do with that to turn it to instant value for the small business owner. So it's that nice pairing again, that partnership that makes the magic.
But you're not, it sounds like you guys are never ending trying to improve. You don't get complacent.
No, there's no, I mean, I think there's some, I don't know, hopefully this notion is dissuaded at some point, but software is sort of like a living, breathing thing. You can't actually stop it. I mean, back in the day, I guess when people shipped out DVDs or CDs or whatever, that probably was more the case, but these days, I think it's more of an adaptive, ever-growing sort of thing. You never stop. So even features that it's amazing, even things that have been in place for a year will end up needing to be changed or updated or evolved. So we just think of it as a never-ending story.
Yeah. Do you have a process for adapting? Like if there's people watching that need to adapt or want to learn how to pivot at a more efficient level, do you have a process? Or if you were helping maybe like a young software engineer, young entrepreneur, millennial, like try to adapt, is there questions you'd ask? Is there things that you think about? I know your mind thinks differently, which I love. What's the process?
Yeah. So, I mean, go ask someone to pay you money for something that doesn't exist. That's if you have an idea and you're not sure, the best thing you could do is just walk out and find someone who you think would find value in that and ask them to cut you a check and say, hey, listen, I'll cash this check after this goes live. And if you can get to the place where someone will actually give you that check, you're probably, you get 10 somebodies, you're probably onto something. But if you go out and that person isn't interested or isn't willing to part with their money or whatever, it's a wonderful means test. And you can very quickly jump to a place where you can understand whether your idea even is anywhere close to as valuable to that person as it is in your mind. And it's very cheap to do. And I would say as an engineer, I've made the mistake of building things. And this is the classic problem for entrepreneurs who tend to be engineers. They build stuff because they think it's cool and they think that someone's going to use it. And then no one bothers, like no one cares. And, I think looking back, that's those are the things that I've done. I mean, I remember when I did my Invoice Sherpa thing, I did sort of an MVP and I thought, who would know best about this? Like, I bet bookkeepers would know. So like, I found a bookkeeper and I called her up and I said, listen, what's your rate? She's like, $100 an hour. I'm like, sweet. Meet me at the Starbucks. I'll pay you $100. I'll pay you to look at this solution. And I paid her and I went to go pay this lady and she looked at it and she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is fantastic. All my customers would love this. And I was like, okay, great. Well, here's your $100. She's like, I don't need your $100. This is, and so then I was like, well, okay, maybe I'm onto something. And, so I think those types of experiences are super critical and useful and very cheap and easy if you think about it to execute on before you get into anything.
I don't know if you know how much value you're giving. Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
It's just a lot of, this is a lot of advice from a lot of failures and a lot of stupid decisions. So, if I could help somebody else avoid a stupid decision, I would love to do that.
Here's what you said. Drop your ego. First of all, it's not about you. Second, test, go to market. I learned this from Dan Kennedy years ago when I was studying him. He said the likelihood of the marketplace responding because you think they want something is 0.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. I'm like, but I think I want this. I think they want this. And then half the time they don't. The customers are the marketing geniuses. So I love that you just second that because It's something that entrepreneurs need to understand. You have to test. There's no other option.
Absolutely.
That's huge. In terms of high level, obviously you do a lot, but is there a single way? A lot of people are looking to capture leads right now. They're looking for lead generators, lead magnets. If you could only utilize one option in your business for like lead gen or capturing leads, what would you do? And what would you tell an entrepreneur looking to capture leads right now in 2021?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty big, bold question. So it depends on what you do. I would say personally, it's about the lead capture is important. And, I would say, try stuff, run Facebook ads, run Google ads. And it depends on what your business is, depends on who you are, that sort of thing. But I would say that, ads are the best way to get out in front of somebody. If you're a local business, especially, you absolutely should run ads. I would say, though, the biggest message I would send is it's not about leads, believe it or not. I would say there's not a local business on the planet, and especially not in North America, who you couldn't drench with leads with some very simple ads overnight. That's not where the problem happens. The problem happens in the nurture phase. That's the next step, right? So leads come in, and we do this. We ingest millions and millions of leads every month. And it's the same scenario. It's the person says, "Hey, I'm interested. I might need this, or I might want this, or I absolutely need this, and I absolutely want this." And then that same problem happens over and over again. It's called crickets. Nothing happens, and right there, that lead goes to die. And that is where it's like
throwing money in the garbage.
It is. It's every small business, and it happens every day in ways that people don't even conceive. Like, that yellow page ad that you still have out there that you shouldn't, that's still generating some calls with that weird local marketing thing that new little mailer thing that goes out, whatever, like your Google My Business listing that's out there. People are calling you all the time. And when you miss those calls, I think a lot of business owners pick up the phone, they call back and like, oh, their voicemail and this, that, and the other. And it's like, no. You missed the opportunity. When they called you, they were interested. They were right there. And because you failed to pick up that phone or failed to chat them back, you lost that lead. And that's the place where the world has to change. As a small business owner, you need to be hyper focused on making sure that no lead is sitting there idle for longer than 30 seconds on a messaging basis, and you're not missing calls and not picking up calls when people ring you, because that's, I think, when a lot of small businesses miss out and don't convert a ton of business that they could.
So the mentality is, for a new business owner, not, hey, I need more leads. It's, hey, let's focus and maximize the nurture sequence. Then we'll focus on leads.
Just make sure that every time a lead comes in, it is impossible for that person not to get an immediate answer, because otherwise it's just like having a big hole in the bucket and just like, well, let's pour some more water in the bucket. Well, you're just going to push more water out the hole. It's just a waste of time, and it's very inefficient and expensive, right? Leads cost money, ads cost money. So you got to make sure that next step in the process is on point. And it's really just about responding to the customer immediately.
Hey, what's up? And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this video and this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, put the notifications on, and I assure you, you'll love this content and these videos.